Handsome Hockey Podcast. 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 Handsome Hockey Podcast.
Handsome Hockey Podcast. Botox lips never look good.
No, they don't. I don't understand
They
why.
never, ever, ever look good.
And they look uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's
I don't understand why you would make that decision. If you saw someone else with that, how do you come to the conclusion that, yes, I too would like this look? Like, they look like they hurt.
and what type of person is attracted to that? Is like
Right.
that's my real question, right?
Is it the same type of person that's attracted to a truck that you can't see a 5'11" person under if you, like, stand one up in front of them?
even Donald Trump's wife's lips aren't Botoxed?
No, she fucking, yeah.
Like, and he's the like crumbummiest scumfuck of all. And
Right.
like my wife watches a bunch of these like trash TV shows, and it's like a bunch of like Aussies or English folk, and I'm like, what the fuck happened here?
Aussies are something else.
I asked my English friend, is Australia the Russia of former British colonies? And he was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're real people. I think they might just be drawn.
I've met like real, actually excellent Australians.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
And they gave priceless advice into the other Australians, because they were just like, oh yeah, these other people are all psychopaths. Like there's this like thread of normal people in Australia. They're just sort of outnumbered.
It's what happens when you're birthed from penal labor. We could probably talk about hockey now, yeah.
I guess. I think we're warmed up enough.
We're on a roll with not talking about hockey. Maybe this is just like the non-hockey episode. Like I'll edit out this part about me asking about whether or not we should talk about hockey.
Should we even talk about hockey? I mean, it's late August. Does hockey even exist? Is hockey a tree that if it fell in the forest, people would notice?
Judging by our listenership the last couple of episodes, no.
I went out with my mom to the Sports Bra bar around the corner. Awesome place if you haven't been there. They had Women's Worlds on, and it was awesome to just catch up with some Women's Worlds while I was catching up with my mom. I got to explain the like Canada-Finland dynamic as they were playing. I was like, yeah, Finland's pretty good, but Canada's like better, and US and Canada will play for the championship, of course. And lo and behold, I got to be right. My mom's like, whoa, first time for everything. You're really growing up.
Speaking of hockey podcasts, this is the Handsome Hockey Podcast, and this is episode 68. My name is Jake, and alongside me is...
I'm Evan, and we are excited to come to you from still sunny Portland, Oregon.
First things first, though, we've got some big-time women's hockey news coming. The Women's World Cup happened over the past week and a half, and stop me if you've heard this one before. Canada beat the U.S. by 1 goal in the final.
Wait, what? Wow, is that not just a replay of the last...
Like 8 times they've played. The U.S. beat Canada. Also, stop me if you heard this. The U.S. beat Canada during the prelims and then lost to them in the finals.
I mean, talk about some rope-a-dope shit. Canada's just like, I let you get a couple in. We're going to find out your systems, and like, then MPP is just going to take over and be unstoppable. Like,
They show up when it counts.
well, yeah, and those like early round victories, you always get super hyped to play the team the first time, and then like you really go all out, and the better team, says, we are the Borg, we will adapt, you will be assimilated. Yeah, and like
If you're lucky, you get assimilated.
yeah, I mean, well,
It's usually killed.
you would have to, in order to be
Phasers that
assimilated to the Canadian hockey team, you would have to become a citizen, and then actually, it could happen.
It could happen.
They probably let Hillary Knight become a Canadian player.
They're like, honorary, she's in.
Let's just use
Here's
that,
a passport.
let's use that like year you've been injured to just let's emigrate you. There were some political things in the U.S. you might not want to be part of. We're just gonna recruit you like a fucking SEC school trying to recruit people into the transfer portal.
Oh, so they're just giving her a ton of money.
Yeah. Under the table.
Like even like vaguely under the table, they're like, no, this isn't a bag of cash.
College football is the KHL.
Yeah. Speaking of Hillary Knight, Hillary Knight became the leading scorer as far as points go in women's world history. 87 point, or she scored her 87th point, surpassing Haley Wickenheiser, who is the AGM in Toronto, best known for ripping clappers early before the first day of free agency.
I love that move. Like, if I could just rip clappers before work, I would be so much better at my job.
Oh, I would never go to work. I'd be like, no, I'm going to stay here and rip clappers. Also, fuck
no,
my job.
but you have a rink at your work. Like, it's like, oh, I can, take a break, rip some clap bombs, go back to work.
Fair enough. Okay. I could get behind that.
Maybe you have like a standing clap bomb desk. I don't know.
So Hillary Knight is now the number one scorer of all time. She already held the record for most goals in women's world history.
Because USA number one.
Yeah, USA number one. And, just to prove it, Hillary Knight was like, yeah, USA number one. Well, until that gold medal game. We're not talking about that, though. We're talking about Hillary Knight being amazing and quite possibly the best women's player of all time.
Yeah, at least until the next one. Like, she'll probably be able to hold that title for, I don't know, a decade?
Something like that. Hey, I'd love to be the best at anything for a decade.
Absolutely.
Also in the tournament, Czechia defeated Switzerland 4-2 to win their first ever medal in Women's World Cup history. The Swiss were a little bit shorthanded by the time they got into that third place game or the bronze medal game.
They had some holes in their game. Sorry.
Oh man, the first time I heard sorry and a boot in Canada last week, I was like, this is great.
Yeah, that's when you're getting like an authentic hockey broadcast.
It was like in their natural state. It's perfect.
Just catching you in situ. Yeah.
Also, speaking about Canada's women's hockey team, EA Sports announced that there will be a dual athlete cover for the first time in their NHL franchise history. And it's going to be Trevor Zegras and Sarah Nurse.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen the cover?
I have.
It's real weird.
Yeah.
It's some shit out the 90s.
It's some choices were made.
Yeah. It's kind of like Trevor Zegras posing like a Slav and then like Sarah Nurse looking like a hockey player. Yeah. Graphic design, artistic decisions aside, this is real cool.
This is the first time that a female athlete has been on the cover of the NHL franchise.
Or a major EA franchise?
That I don't know.
Would there have been one in soccer, maybe?
Soccer would be
but who
my
would you
guess.
But who? Marta?
Or Megan Rapinoe?
I don't know if it's happened. Has it happened?
I don't think it's happened. This might be the
curious.
first time.
Yeah, let's. We'll have to look it up. But yeah, it's real cool because she's amazing, deserves the honor. I get the idea that like, okay, we're going to market our up and coming stars. Wow, NHL, try that.
Look at you go.
Yeah.
The downside to this was EA put out this huge announcement. Trevor Zegras, Sarah Nurse on the cover. And then the video to announce it was only Trevor Zegras highlights.
Right.
Like not one Sarah Nurse highlight except for her standing in street clothes holding a hockey stick.
Right.
And I read some places where they were like, oh, well, they didn't have the video rights to the IIHF stuff, so
bullshit.
they could. Yes, that's bullshit. EA has more money than God. Like, purchase a fucking video if you cared.
Also, I'm sure it's cheaper than whatever they were getting for the NHL.
Right? Well, I think they have exclusive
an
rights
agreement, whatever.
Yeah,
but like, oh my God. Yeah.
Spend a little bit of money to make an announcement like mean more than just like a casual gesture.
Yeah, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back / 1 step forward, 2 steps back in a way, because it's like, oh yeah, we totally just grafted you onto this.
Yeah,
I mean,
congrats. Like, here's a trophy,
and we want better. Like,
we just want fucking like it to like actually be done right.
Yeah, Sarah Nurse has made enough amazing plays. You could find some highlights.
At least one. Like,
I get
one fucking thing.
I get that you're trying to market Trevor Zegras to the Chillins. I get that he made a lot of exciting plays, but if you're going to put someone else on the cover, like, let's see what they're doing too.
Yeah. Like, you have the women's teams in the game.
Yeah, which is
amazing.
A nice development.
But, like, you know who might buy your game if you, like, promote it? Girls.
Yeah.
Instead of them going, why would I buy an NHL game? They see Sarah Nurse on the cover and go, holy shit, there's a woman on the cover. Yeah, I want that. What's going on with hockey? What is this thing? Like,
we'll probably see some of that. I mean, that's the kind of the good news, but yeah, it's just, it's ham-handed, a little weird, to see sometimes equal treatment, not completely equal treatment.
It's almost cool.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool.
Okay, it is cool.
They just didn't stick the landing.
Yeah, like, they are not Carrie fucking Strug, that's for sure. Also, I mean, we got a ton of women's hockey news, so we'll just keep rolling here. Brianna Decker, who is not back from her injuries sustained in the Olympics this year, has joined the PHF not as a player, but in an advisory role. She turned down an invite to the Women's Worlds this year because she's still not feeling 100%. Mm-hmm. She broke her leg and I think tore ligaments in her ankle as well.
Yeah, it was a pretty catastrophic injury.
It was gnarly. However, her role will be to act. Her role will be to act as a liaison of sorts between teams and management, to be able to like see the conditions that they're training in, playing in, their anything from like locker rooms to medical staff to coaching to anything that can be brought to her attention.
So she just gets to go into locker rooms and be like, hey, this is way better than the Calgary Flames locker room. Have you seen that pile of trash?
Have you seen the Saddle Dome? It's garbage.
It's so bad.
Brianna lives in the Minneapolis area, so she'll be able to attend a number of games there, but has also said, she'll either do virtual check-ins or in-person check-ins with teams throughout the league.
Yeah, I mean, she'll be able to go to like a hockey game at any night of the week if she lives in Minneapolis if she wants to, and not during the high season. Like, oh man, I got NHL games like Tuesday, Thursday to watch, and then I got some high school hockey and some college hockey.
The Mighty Ducks are playing,
and we're just gonna throw in some beer league too while we're at it.
The Quack Attack is back. That's foreshadowing for our upcoming appearance. This is really cool. It's good for the PHF, obviously, to have one of the best women's players of all time be kind of representing representing the players and the coaches to make sure that there's a certain level of equity and a certain level of quality control.
I kind of imagining like that old Tumblr, Instagram article of Kim Jong-un looking at things, like Brianna Decker, like looking at things like, oh, Brianna Decker points at towel pile in locker room. Like, but you can
These
tell
are not white enough.
Yeah, you can tell that
Get some OxyClean.
For some reason, just like, a tour of locker rooms makes me think of that. But you can tell that like just having her get involved is going to probably lead to something else. It's never going to be a bad idea to involve the best women in your sport in this league that you're trying to form. And well, the PHF is an upstart league, like still cutting its teeth and trying to figure out how to grow an audience. So yeah, great move. Just like, this is how like Tom Brady gets into sportscasting, right? They courted him. He's still playing. Like, oh, we made a deal. You're going to be a sportscaster. You're still playing, but like, while we have plans for after, you can see like, okay, maybe she's setting up something after her career is over, trying to find a longevity as a professional women's hockey player, transitioning to front office like that. I don't know, smart by her. It just seems like a win-win.
Yeah. Hopefully, Brianna Decker's partner doesn't leave her like Gisele Bundchen might leave Tom Brady. But yeah.
Why? Because he's not earning enough?
No, she didn't want him to play anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Staying in PHF land, the Montreal franchise has a name.
Montreal Force.
Le Force.
May La Force be with you.
I don't have a follow-up joke.
I love that their branding is essentially the colors of Washington State football. Like they just like went to a catalog and were like, oh, okay, we're gonna go with that. Wazoo.
Which, I mean, that's not a bad color scheme.
No, classic, and like it's not taken. You know, like you have to look when you're making new jerseys for a league. I found out you got to kind of look around the league and try and find something that hasn't been done color wise.
Yeah, the fleur de lis is or like faux de lis. We'll call it. That's a really cool emblem, insignia, whatever you want to call it. The colors are black, maroon, and white, which is kind of similar to the black, red, and gold of the Toronto Six. However, I think this is a really cool move. Hopefully Montreal, adjusts very quickly to being this, high-end team like the Toronto Six did. Their roster is almost entirely made of Quebecois, and they did announce that they will not have an official home arena for this season. They're going to play games all throughout the Quebec province, which is actually kind of a cool idea to kind of grow your name throughout the province and kind of garner support and all of that cool stuff. So I think that's a really cool step.
Yeah, I think, Montreal is going to be an amazing home for a PHF franchise, and they're just going to
100%.
They're just going to run with it as crazy Montreal fans, and I don't know, I'm looking forward to seeing them as a new member of the league.
Chances are the Force are better than the Canadiens this year. And finally, in our last kind of note about women's hockey for this episode, the PWHPA has announced that they are not going to have a league this year. They will return to the Dream Gap Tour, much as they have the last 5 or 6 years.
There's still a gap between where they are and the Dream.
Yeah, then closing in, they got some really cool sponsorship combinations. They hooked up with the Billie Jean King Foundation.
That is cool.
To kind of raise financial support for what they're looking to create, which is a sustainable hockey league for women in North America,
which takes time to set up.
Yeah, just ask the PHF.
Yeah, exactly. So
they might have to change their name.
there's not much. I don't know. I don't see any consternation in like, oh yeah, we're going to take our time to get this right.
Yeah, absolutely.
If only EA Sports would do that.
Bum, 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 instead of cranking out a game in like three weeks like they do every year. They are going to play more games this year, and they did change the format a little bit. I believe it's only going to be 4 teams this year.
Okay.
And there's going to be kind of like a draft sort of setup so that talent is more evenly spread amongst the 4 teams.
I was just thinking
I was like,
no. I'm just thinking of a scenario of like if Amanda Kessel was there and got picked last, like Phil Kessel got picked last for that one fantasy draft they did, and I mean, he still got a car, but it was fucking hilarious.
Or where he was tweeting from home during the Olympics saying, imagine if you'd had a goal-scoring winger on this team.
That was... we'll get to him. And I feel bad, like, a needless relation between Amanda Kessel and Phil Kessel, but it would really be funny if the identical thing happened to them.
So we are excited for the WHPA. We've stated this before. When we first started getting into women's hockey, it was easier to get into the PHF or the NWHL at the time, just because they had a league. Like there are standings, there are like it's a real like fungible, tangible thing. Or it's
there
a real
are goalie
tangible thing.
stats, even though none of the goalies have ever played the same amount of games as each other.
Exactly. Whereas the PWHPA, while the quality of the game is incredible,
It's awesome.
It's not a league. It's not like you're not like attaching yourself to a team, like because the teams are like Team Adidas, and I'm like, I'm not gonna buy a Team Adidas jersey or a T-shirt,
Even though the jerseys are pretty cool. And
Yeah.
if like they would just settle down, they'd probably sell jerseys.
Yeah.
And I mean, they probably sell jerseys anyways on some level, but
Sure, but not like they don't have random dudes in Portland buying PWHPA jerseys like they do Connecticut Whale shirts.
that would be awesome if like the first West Coast team was in Portland, because we have the room in our hockey infrastructure. Like that would be awesome.
100% we do. Yeah, it'll probably go to Seattle, but whatever. This isn't a defeat for the PWHPA at all. This is them making sure that when they finally do launch an official league, that it is 100% sustainable and will pay their athletes a livable wage. And that's awesome.
And we have no doubt that it's coming. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
their on ice product is very, very good. And it makes sense to like cage how they've done things as like a tour, and you have a lot of flexibility when you structure things that way. And so they can kind of like pop up on NBC when they want to. And like, there are some advantages to how they've done things as opposed to the PHF.
And they are in a way kind of like testing markets out, right? They can go to St. Louis and see what their experience is there. They can go to Detroit. They can go to Toronto. They can
do what the PHF did and just go to Florida and go to the beach.
Yeah. Or they can do what the Panthers did, which is go to a strip club before a pivotal series game.
Hey, titties aren't going to see themselves.
Male or female, whatever your flavor is.
Exactly.
I almost had a transition to the Hockey Canada thing from
I'm
that,
sorry.
and then I was like, "Oh, this is gross." No, that's not
You can
good.
cut that. I mean, if we're trying to dial it down.
No, like from me saying whatever is your flavor, right? Yeah. So I'm just gonna.
I did call a guy Tits McGee on Twitter.
Nice.
Because,
Did you get Twitter jailed?
No.
Oh. Well, yeah, I should know. You haven't been blowing up the handsome hockey Twitter lately.
That's true. I've been trying to use it a little bit, but not. I haven't been forced over there.
Yeah. Like I love. Part of me loves that. Like Twitter goes, "Fuck you, Evan," and Evan goes, fuck you." Like handsome hockey runs again. There's no transitions here, so I'm just going to jump into it. So the Hockey Canada board announced shockingly that embattled President Scott Smith has their support.
Oh yeah. I mean, the guy that has presided over some really nasty allegations of just complete and utter
malfeasance.
Failure on the part of this organization to deal with very, very substantive sexual assault allegations. Surprise, they're just going to give him a blind vote of confidence. This feels like fucking one of the prequels of Star Wars. Like,
it just shows how untouchable they feel. Like they fear nothing,
Well, and they probably just think that they're like, there's not enough attention on them to warrant a change. And well, actually there is. There's a lot of people that want Hockey Canada to do
like
something.
most of Canada.
Yeah. Including Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, Justin Trudeau, he went on the record as saying that Canadians, as a nation, have lost faith in Hockey Canada.
Right.
Which just, smacks in the face, of course, of the announcement from the Hockey Canada board. And, I've probably gone on this rant several dozen times in the 67 and, like a half episodes we have. And like people who are in power will not change until their power is threatened.
Right.
And so right now, Hockey Canada does not feel like they are in a position where their power is going to be taken away from them. And so they will stick with the status quo as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, even as their advertisers are leaving, even as there aren't butts in the seats for their major world junior championship, like they're just not getting the fucking message.
And they won't unless their power is challenged. And, they came out and said, oh, we're going to do all of these things that we should have been doing anyway. And most other sports have been doing for the last 10 years, except for like U.S. women's gymnastics. And like, that's not enough. Like,
yeah, and
you fucked up. And there has like heads should roll for this.
And at Women's Worlds, they're still putting out like very bad PR pieces and like just really doubling down on, excuses, gaslighting. Something's got to happen. And, if the prime minister of your country, the most beautiful prime minister outside of Finland.
Yeah. I was about ready to correct you there. I was like, ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 ho.
That's a whole side thing we could talk about probably for a long time. But like if your own prime minister, beautiful baby Justin Trudeau, is calling for your head basically as an organization, maybe something should happen. I don't know. But more needs to happen to put pressure on him. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it could be, other than like governmental sanctions, criminal investigations. Like that doesn't sound like Canada. That sounds like America.
It feels... I'm sorry.
No, what you were saying.
Well, it feels like where is the actual oversight? Like who has this is a government organization. Right. So somebody should be above the person who is making the decisions in Hockey Canada, right? And I know they have a board, but is there nobody who has the power to check the board? Can't Justin Trudeau go like, "Hey, y'all are fired."
Yeah,
no severance pay. Bye-bye now.
Maybe that's what they need, just direct governmental control of Hockey Canada.
Yeah,
Let's pretend they're a bank.
They're already basically a socialist country. Just lock this shit down and get it fixed.
Socialist in that you can get healthcare?
Yeah, it turns out. Yeah, okay. You don't have to have a job. What? I can get my brain fixed? No, it's too late for that. But you can probably get your teeth fixed.
Good for hockey players.
Yeah, great for hockey players. Maybe that's actually why they have socialized healthcare. Like too many hockey players weren't able to get their teeth fixed, and so they're like, "We must fix this." Or however you say that in French. Too many old men
named Herb in the 1950s couldn't eat, so they had to socialize medicine.
That kind of segues into our talk about the men's game, which really is kind of just a bunch of quick hitters because there's not shit going on in the NHL right now.
No, there's a lot of contracts. Most of them are bad.
Yeah.
And, some injury news.
Sticking in Canada, although moving on to much sunnier topics than the complete and total failure of Hockey Canada, Nazem Kadri finally signed, one of probably the three most sought after or high profile free agents in this year's free agent class.
Yeah, it was so weird that he hadn't signed that people had suspected that he signed with the Islanders, who never would tell you who they signed until way later.
Yeah. And there were rumors floating out there that Calgary was one of the finalists, but they didn't have room. And then all of a sudden Sean Monahan got traded to Montreal along with a first round pick that has 400 stupid conditions attached to it that I'm not going to get into. And Calgary gets future considerations, and we're thinking, oh, well, something big is happening. And then within seconds, it was like, bing, Nazem Kadri signs with Calgary. And this is a bit of a power move if, like, if Brad Treliving fails, and part of me hopes he does because I still think it's very funny that Canada can't win a Stanley Cup. But if Brad Treliving fails, nobody will ever be able to accuse him of not trying.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The dude had, like, if any GM in the NHL has bigger cojones than Mr. Treliving, they are yet to show themselves, because Brad Treliving's balls are all over the place and they are engorged.
He's certainly had himself an offseason between losing 2 stars, losing 2 stars in a move that he had to make, losing another star to free agency, and then reloading with 3 new ones now.
Yeah. If you can lose Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk and be better, that's fucking bonkers. They haven't signed Mackenzie Weegar to a long-term deal yet. That is, like, kind of the only real stain on this whole thing.
I mean, it's not even a stain in that they don't need to re-sign him right away.
Right. It's like a hazy underbelly sort of thing. Like, but Jonathan Huberdeau re-signed already. Kadri's locked in. Both of those contracts probably won't age super well. I think Huberdeau's will probably age relatively well. Like, there's a good chance that these contracts don't age well, but that's a problem for future Brad Treliving.
Yeah, or a future GM in most cases.
Right. Calgary is fucking stacked.
Yeah, and they have good young players to pair with all of these.
Their top
stars.
2 lines are gonna be awesome.
Got a really good goaltender.
Excellent goaltender. They've finally got somebody to replace Mark Giordano as like their top defenseman.
And they have young good defensemen in Chillington.
Yeah, their top line is going to be like some combination of Huberdeau, Elias Lindholm, and like maybe Dylan Dubé. Sure. And then their second line is going to be like Kadri and Mangiapane and Tyler Toffoli.
And they're going to eat some bread.
And then their third line will be like Blake Coleman and like
That's
Michael Backlund. Like
that's all right.
That's a very good lineup.
Yeah, and they have good pieces on the back end and defensively too. I mean, it's all bolstered by the fact that they have a lot of really good defensemen. So, really interesting signing. I love talking about it. I love talking about Nazem Kadri. He's easily become one of my favorite players in the NHL. Only furthered the fact that he's one of my favorites by bringing the Stanley Cup to a Mosque for the first time in the Stanley Cup's history, which is super awesome.
It's a huge moment. Mm-hmm. Like people, we can kind of like say, oh, there's been so many big moments, but the Stanley Cup went to a mosque for the first time.
Yeah, there's so many Muslim hockey fans in Canada. Just to make that move, and again, like we were talking about with like maybe women playing video games, young girls playing video games, like, just to see yourself be represented in your own life, like in front of you, to see like, oh man, that could be me, is so huge for any kid. So yeah, congrats to Nazem Kadri for this deal, for the moves he's made with the Stanley Cup, and also the movie made trolling people with his t-shirt with the Too Many Men thing. That was awesome. Like, dude has been winning the post Stanley Cup win time period. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, he's been having a hell of an off season. So congrats to Naz.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is like fully deserved huge contract, and he's going to be he'll be the highest paid player on the Flames until Jonathan Huberdeau's contract kicks in next year. And again, the back end of this contract might not look good, but this team is built to win now.
Yeah, and these contracts may look better. I mean, these guys could age better than we think they will. You never know.
And there's a lot of rumors out there that the salary cap could expand greatly after the 2023-24 season. So
I see. Real belt loosening.
Yeah.
Engorge ourselves. And
yeah. And like Vegas might finally be able to sign somebody and not have to give them away for nothing.
That would be funny.
That'd be unfortunate.
So speaking of not giving away nothing, Sean Monahan is kind of an interesting piece to send to Montreal because they need the glue guy. He's kind of a glue guy. Everybody loves him. He's like supposed to be the greatest guy in the room kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He may be future modeling career because look at that jawline.
He is a handsome hockey
and
alumni
that flow.
for sure.
Yeah, he should be in the handsome top 10 if we ever do that. But he also has a unexpected Twitter following. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, like it turns out he's like a really good dude.
Yeah, but in that kind of like boring hockey player way. And so he finally revealed that on Twitter today that one of his ex-teammates ran a famous Twitter account called Boring Sean Monahan that tweeted such gems as, "I'm going to have toast for breakfast." And I messaged Paul Byron and asked if he likes to eat toast for breakfast, and he said yes. And
I had toast for breakfast too. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I could be Sean Monahan.
And he said, sometimes I change it up and have fruit for breakfast, but today I'm having toast. So, he revealed that Chris Butler, a former Flames player that I, have no idea of, but is behind this on Twitter, and I love it. I love it so much.
The fact that he just kind of let it go and was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Just have fun.
Absolutely. Like, talk about a class act. So yeah, happy trails. Hopefully he can catch on in Montreal, because dude probably needed to change the scenery. I mean, everyone was talking about how he's washed or something, and I don't know. I don't think he's that washed. He's just been really hurt all the time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can come back from those injuries.
Right.
Speaking of also injured in Montreal, Carey Price only vaguely exists at this point as a hockey player. As a human, very much real.
Carey Price as a hockey player is just the friends you made along the way.
Yeah.
I say this as a fantasy owner that drafted his ghost once.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was a bad goalie draft for you.
I think that was the same draft that I drafted Dustin Byfuglien too.
And Carter Hart. You drafted Carey Price and Carter Hart the
Jesus
same.
Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. That was a sad year. So Carey Price also having a sad year. Sucks. We're really hoping to see him come back. And I don't know. It seemed like things were trending that way with the news that we saw last season with his rehab and off season, but sounds like he's dead, Bob.
Not dead, and we're finally getting to the Phil Kessel news. Yay, Phil Kessel. Yeah, Phil Kessel signed with Vegas, which is interesting because they're like $11 billion over the salary cap. But Phil Kessel has a contract, and it's with a team that theoretically, if they're allowed to play, despite being way over the salary cap, should be like there should be a bounce back year for Vegas. Like,
yeah, I mean, have they put Robin Lehner on LTIR yet?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
honestly, I don't give a shit. But
that was a very aggressive way to say you don't know. Yeah, it's a interesting signing because like they're a weirdly good team, but also feel like they're a house of cards. And you sign Phil Kessel, who, I mean, he's not maybe the most fleet of foot anymore, but he's a pretty good goal scorer. pretty good player all around, and like, I don't know, he can shore up your third line and play up a little bit maybe if you need to. Like, I don't know. But yeah, real happy for Phil Kessel. He will apparently not be hitting the casinos as hard as some claim, but I kind of don't believe him. I think he's still going to go there some. Phil Kessel, one of my favorite players, and the closest the NHL has to like a Marmot.
I legit saw a marmot when I was in Canada.
Hell
I
yeah,
was like,
Marmot's
hell
rock.
yeah.
Marmot's rock. You can't not be happy you saw a marmot.
It was at
It's like that's why I make the comparison, Phil Kessel.
it was at like 8,000 feet
When
too.
he yells, it sounds like an emergency whistle.
We do have a couple of signings here to talk about. The first is Tage Thompson got paid.
That's Tajay Thompson to you.
Tage.
He now drinks his Gatorade with his pinky up and put a accent aigu on his name.
He's getting 7 years, $50 million to stay in Buffalo, which makes him like
$7 million man.
He's still making like $6 million a year less than Jeff Skinner, but
That's true. I mean, maybe he has Jeff Skinner's agent. Maybe that's how this happened.
ooh,
Yeah, Tage Thompson, I mean, he put together a hell of a year. We'll see if he can do it again. He's a pretty good player. He's an exciting player to watch.
he's very young and he's huge.
Yeah, he's very large. What is more beloved in the NHL besides large men? So, yeah, he got paid for
Racism.
being large. Ignoring head injury.
Also signing Jake Ottinger re-upped with Dallas. This had been a very protracted RFA conversation, and there was a lot of talk about Dallas not wanting to pay Ottinger, which
Is ridiculous.
what?
And in the middle of it, the owner said something stupid, ham-fisted, like, we have too much money wrapped up in goal scorers or something, or like goal
Yeah.
scorers get paid too much. And it's like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. And also, your best goal scorer still needs to be fucking paid, Jason Robertson. And,
Also, you're paying two really you're paying two really garbagey goal scorers a lot of money to
Yeah.
suck on your first line.
paying Tyler Sagan and Jamie doesn't eat pussy Ben, like $1 bajillion to do nothing. And still, somehow this team has been good because of it, because these coaches that you keep hiring and firing are like at their wits' end on how to like keep Ben and Sagan healthy while also burying them and letting like Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson cook. Oh man, the Dallas Stars are ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah.
you-
Oh no, absolutely. They still haven't signed Jason Robertson, which
literally one of the best young stars in the league.
that dude's
Like,
gonna get paid. And I mean,
Jason-
they have a decent chunk of cap space, but it might not be like they have 6.3 something million in cap space, but that might not be enough to pay Jason Robertson what he's worth.
No, and like if they'd have locked him up, would have made more sense. Where did Klingberg go?
Anaheim.
Yeah, so they lost a good defenseman. Like Ottinger's a great star young goaltender. So I don't know. I don't understand why their owner is bitching about paying people that put the puck in the net too much money, and also paying the guy that keeps the puck out of the net too much money. Absolutely ridiculous. Labor Day plug.
Yeah, that 5 more years at 9.85 mil for Sagan that's gonna age real well.
I mean, like that has already aged well.
Yeah, exactly. The other big signing, kind of out of the blue, JT Miller re-signed with the Vancouver Canucks. You know, he had been a favorite of trade talks throughout the summer and, you know, all of last year.
Which would have been the smart play. Like,
Probably.
this
Yeah.
is kind of a mistake.
Yeah.
They're going to overpay a guy. He's a good hockey player, but He's not a great hockey player, and they're paying him great hockey player money.
Yeah, 8 years, $8 million per. No movement clause the first 4 years, or sorry, 7 years, $8 million per. No movement clause the first 4 years, modified no trade, and a no movement clause the last 3 years.
Oof.
Like that's bad.
I mean, you could hitch your franchise wagon to worse people. JT Miller has been great in the room. He's had a fair share of highlight reels the last couple of years after we all kind of wrote him off 3 years ago. So, good for him. This is expensive. But yeah, Vancouver is compounding on mistakes they've already made. They are a team that needs to be rebuilding, and they are capital G going for it. I don't know. Reminds me of what the Blackhawks did, muddling around after they won cups and needed to rebuild, and they're like, no, we're gonna reload and try and sell more tickets, and well, see how that turned out. So
you just gave away your team basically. Like,
yeah, it's spendy.
Yeah, we'll see how this one plays out.
I wish my Midwestern mother could be a GM of a team. That would be really great. She'd just be like, that's a nice player, but that's too high a price.
Yeah. Can we haggle over this?
She's not a haggler. She's just like, I don't know.
Too rich for my blood.
Apparently, side note, you can start cutting here, but we were at the men's clothing store Revolver in Bend, which is actually pretty solid. I like a decent amount of the stuff that they have there, but apparently Britta was like running interference on like shirts that my mother was trying to bring me while I was in the changing room. And like Britta brought me a couple shirts that were at least worth trying on. I don't know. I found one shirt that I want to wear for the Hawaiian wedding. I'm going to a Hawaiian wedding in like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Fucking $160, and I think I would need to get it tailored.
Yeesh.
But I like it. So we'll see. And it's made in the U.S. by Union Labor. Labor Day plug. I'm not sure it's Union Labor, but I assume most like textile workers in the U.S. are organized one way or another.
I would think so, yeah.
Speaking about being good for the union.
A couple of final bits here, one of which is not really all that exciting, but we'll talk about it anyways. The Sharks had a glut of goalies. Vegas had 0 proven goalies. And so Aiden Hill was traded to Vegas for a 4th rounder.
Even though he's sort of proven bad, but, well, we'll see.
Yeah. Who the fuck knows what's going on in Vegas, man? Like, it's the Wild West out there.
A lot of people malign the fact that they like did so well in the expansion draft, and then Seattle kind of did so poorly. But also those franchises now are on like completely different curves.
Yeah.
Seattle is building slowly, whereas like Vegas is burning out and fading the fuck away. And it's so funny.
Like, it's almost painful to watch, but at the same time, it's really funny.
And like, what if they miss the playoffs next year?
Everybody gets fired.
What happens to that roster?
Well, they did hire an actual competent coach.
Sure, yeah.
So that helps.
But you have so much money in... Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's no way they miss the playoffs.
Bruce Cassidy is a much, much better coach than Peter DeBoer.
But also, what happens if they miss the playoffs?
Oh, I would love to see it.
I know.
Like, watch, like, Arizona sneaks into the playoffs at the expense of Vegas, who's like the 9 seed again.
All right, while we're talking about things that won't happen,
yeah.
They're going to meet the Blackhawks in the first round.
Anyways, this trade doesn't make sense at all. And, I guess maybe you need a steady Eddie back there.
And also, like, who was available as an NHL goaltender after you're losing Robin Lehner for the year? How dumb do they feel for this Marc-Andre Fleury thing now?
I don't have a good transition. I really wish I did, but Jonathan Huberdeau, Jonathan Huberdeau, fuck me. So Jonathan Huberdeau, fresh off of making, the red half of Alberta, the Flames side of Alberta happy, vowed to donate his brain to science when he passes away, which honestly, I guess it's probably like a big thing to ask of somebody, but I wish more athletes would do it, just because I think, especially in these context heavy sports, like highlight and ballet.
I wish it was almost like mandatory, just so we can like look at some of these guys' brains and be like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Like, holy crap. I think the reason that more athletes don't do it is because they know that eventually people would just stop playing sports.
I mean, that's maybe the sad fact about football that's inevitable.
I would never let a child of mine play football.
No, I know. And like I did too. I worry every day about what it did to me. And so I can, really identify with Jonathan's decision here. Fresh off signing a big contract, he's making the news and puts this out there. I think it's a nice gesture for people that had been like kind of thinking about this. The more we know about CTE, the more we know it's just
bad.
And just way more pervasive than ever we had thought. We're finding out that Demaryius Thomas, who is our age, had advanced CTE when he died. So this is both kind of mundane and really important at the same time, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, no doubt there are guys that we are going to watch their horrid declines after hockey, like we're watching now, and cheering on at their spectacle and at sometimes their pain. And so, the best that we can do to support these guys is to like look at our brains and give our brains and give science the most data that they can. It's crazy to think of this as a nice gesture that also means something, but it's both. It's fresh off of a champagne popping at the beach contract. He says publicly, I'm going to give my brain to science. That's pretty cool.
Completely agree. You said the phrase "no doubt," and I was going to make a "no doubt" joke, and then you like continued on with like this really important, and then I was like, now I can't make that.
What Jonathan said was, "It's my life. Don't you forget." I don't remember the rest of that lyric.
He was at the beach when they did the like montage of them popping champagne and stuff, but what I heard was earlier he didn't have his phone with him when they called, and he was like, sorry, I'm not home right now. I'm just stepping in a spider web. So leave a message. I'll call you back. And
it was rumored that his inability to find his phone at that moment is what worried him about CTE. And so that's why.
There we go. We full circle. Love it. Before we sign off, I just want to say one quick thing. Evan has made a couple of plugs throughout the episode already, but it's Labor Day. We're recording on Labor Day. This is not work. This is pure joy for us. Also, we don't get paid, so whatever. But Labor Day is like one of the most important holidays in the U.S., I think. People struggled and stood up and fought valiantly, some of whom lost their lives in order for us to have actual safe working conditions, to have actual 9 to 5s instead of 8 to 10 p.m., 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., like indentured servitude throughout the United States. And so I think it would be a misstep of us to record this episode on Labor Day and not say something about the fact that if you are enjoying today, not working, then
if your children are not working, if you like mandatory paid overtime, or if you appreciate, 40-hour work weeks suck, but
it's better than 90.
Right. Yeah. you have a lot of things in your life that have been brought to you by unions. Whether or not you know it, a union is behind most of the nice things that workers have now. And also lack thereof is behind a lot of the not nice things that workers have now. So let's take this day and this episode, this moment, to just kind of reflect on the hard work that representatives of labor have put in over the years to fight for labor and to put labor's, needs first. It's not always perfect, but somebody's got to be standing up for the little guy. And, well, most of the time that's a union.
Yeah. And, without unions, without collective bargaining, without a massed voice, we take on corporations one person at a time, and we always lose.
Yeah. And nobody, remembers like the literal blood spilt in the Gilded Age of America when unions literally had shooting wars with paid police over unsafe working conditions and high death rates. These things that today seem like they're givens, like the 8-hour workday, these were fought for and died for. So if you don't know about it, I urge people to educate yourself on the history of union organizing in America and how, a lot of people have given their lives and stood up for just what was right.
And if you're listening to this and you're a corporation
sponsor us,
who doesn't support unions and union busts anytime attempts are made, go fuck yourself.
I heard an awesome move that someone said is they changed their Starbucks card name to unionized Starbucks, and so anytime their order is read out to be served, that is what is read by a worker. And I'm gonna steal that. I have Starbucks gift cards that other people have given me. I don't seek out Starbucks on my own because, well, most of the Starbucks I would frequent have a better coffee shop a block away.
Yeah, within a few heartbeats of walking. Yeah.
But I thought that was a funny little Labor Day piece.
That's a beautiful way to end this Labor Day edition of the Handsome Hockey Podcast. If you are searching for us, you can find us anywhere on the internet that internet things happen. Most directly, handsomehockey.com is our website.
They haven't hacked it yet.
They've tried.
Oh, I know. I get so many fucking emails. It's so funny.
It's pretty ridiculous. Handsome Hockey Podcast on Instagram, at Handsome Hockey on Twitter, or handsomehockeypod@gmail.com. If for some reason you're still emailing people, you can reach us there.
I mean, some people are real effective with the emails. I don't know.
I actually am. I get people to quit their jobs based off of emails. That's a true story. We also have a Facebook page that it's there. We
sometimes put things out. Yeah. If I see something, that platform is so fucking obnoxious to use.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll get good at social media.
I hope not.
I hope we pay someone else to do it. That'd be nice.
Yeah. If people that would actually be the first thing. If we started getting paid to do this, we would just pay somebody to do our social media. We just won't take a paycheck and we'll just give it to somebody who will do our social media.
Dreams can come true, Jake. Dreams can come true.
Miracles can happen.
Leave this in.
Happen to you.
Leave this in as an ad.
Handsome Hockey Podcast, the place where dreams come true. Stay handsome, everybody.
Restez beau tout le monde.